Welcome to Florida Education News. My name is Dr. Tony Arza, and today I'm sitting down with a school board candidate and school board member in Volusia County Public Schools, Jessie Thompson. Jessie, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So look, you're running for re-election as a board member, and one of the things that we're trying to do with Florida Education News is give voters an opportunity, citizens in Florida an opportunity to get to know the candidates. Want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about yourself. So tell me a little bit about you and your background and what made you want to run for school board.
Absolutely. So my story is a little different than other board members. I was born and raised in Volusia County. And so I grew up through Volusia County schools, went through that whole program. So did my husband, so do our kids. And after that, I went away to college, as most people do, and then came back after college because I really do love being obviously close to my parents, but the people I grew up with. I worked at Disney for a while. I managed a surf shop. Did stand-up comedy, which works really well being on a school board because you're going to get heckled one way or the other. So it was great training. But my kids are in our school, so that's why I ran. You know, back during COVID, I looked at these school board meetings and I saw all these people making decisions. And my daughter was in kindergarten, and I thought, I want someone up there who, when they make those decisions, it's going to affect them instantly. And I actually talked to other people about running too, and then no one wanted to. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this, not just for my kids, that would be very selfish, but all of their friends, everyone I see who I grew up with, their kids. So it's really a community honor for me to be able to serve Volusia County schools. And
so, and it's interesting the answer because not all the board members start off by starting off with what's most personal to them. So what is it about being a mother of children that makes you so interested in the school board? Maybe people don't understand, what impact does the school board have on what's happening in schools? What is it that they actually do? Could you share a little bit about your role?
Absolutely. So a lot of people, I think, don't know what school board members do, which is fine. I don't think I did before I got into this anyway. But we do a lot of policy and procedure. But the great thing about having kids in schools are I go into the schools, at least their school, twice a day. And I can go in and I talk to teachers. I like being able to talk to students and see what really needs to be adjusted. And I think that's been a huge benefit for me in doing this job because sometimes you only hear what people want to tell you. And being in the schools and be able to see it firsthand, like testing's a perfect example. My kids have these tests, they go through these tests. And so when they asked, why are these tests so long? Okay, let me go look into it right now so that I can help fix this issue.
Yeah, so and there are so many different layers to what a board member is responsible for. Obviously you're running for re-election, which means you've already served on the school board. What are some of the things that you're most proud of your time on the school board? And what are some of the things you still feel like we need to accomplish or need to do?
So there's a lot of really small things I'm super proud of. One thing is now in Volusia County schools, we have 24 layers of safety and security. And this will go back to me having kids in the schools. I believe that safety and security is one of the most important things. If kids aren't coming home at the end of the day, what are we even doing there? So the safety and security, we've really increased literacy in Volusia County schools. Before it was more of a third grade and then you're kind of moving on from the learning how to read. And we saw a lot of kids struggling after COVID. And so we've increased that up through high school to make sure that our kids really are learning how to read. They're grasping those concepts and they're graduating with that full knowledge that we want to see when they walk across the graduation stage. That being said, we're not perfect. I don't think we'll ever reach perfection with the Volusia County School District. However, I want to build on those. I want to make sure our schools continue to be safe. What's the next thing? What's going to help make our students safe, our teachers safe, our staff safe? And I want to increase our graduation rates. I want to keep increasing the opportunities our kids have. Our CTE programs, career and technical education, I love it because college isn't for everyone. And so not only are we expanding the programs, but we're making sure we have quality educators in front of the students so you're not just putting them in front of another book like, oh, here, figure this out and you can get qualified. No, our students are getting this hands-on learning. And so that I want to keep expanding that. I really do. Expand on the good work that we have going.
Yeah, and you bring up obviously the important work of teachers and all that. In the environment now, school choice is the law in Florida, universal choice.
Yep.
Parents are now voting with their feet and deciding which schools they want their kids to go to. How do you engage with the concept of choice and the role of choice in Florida? Because there are some board members that have been very vocal. They have been very vocal against choice. There are others that embrace it and argue that a parent should be the decision maker on where their child goes to school. Where do you stand on that?
So I am very adamant that the money should follow the children and that the parents should make the decisions for their children. And where we are with school choice, I think, I've heard some people argue the fact like, oh, they're taking away students from public education. I look at it the opposite way. It gives us a chance to rise to the occasion. All right, so if a parent wants to send their child, say, to a private school because it's safer or they like the curriculum, great. Let's keep raising the bar. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to make education in Florida even stronger.
Yeah, and you bring up competition, this idea of competition. Why do you think it's so important that there is that competition? How do you think it'll help improve the quality of education?
I think if you look at any market, competition is what really rises people up higher. I mean, if it was just a stagnant status quo, what would be the incentive to rise? And so then if you see other schools doing that, and not only rise, but sometimes it gives us ideas like, oh, let's see what they're doing over here. These are the results. Okay, can we do this? Can we do it better? And I think that's always the goal, is to just keep doing it better, because our kids deserve the very best.
Yeah, and this really touches on the whole question of parental rights. And as a mother, why do you think it's so important, right, that a parent is involved in the decision of where their child goes to school? And why do you think it's of the interest to the state to encourage that and actually make that, more prominent?
Well, when COVID was happening, that's when I went and spoke at my first school board meeting. And I told the school board members then, I don't want you to make these decisions for my child because you don't make their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And I still stand by that with this. I think that parents should be involved. They should want to be involved, and that we should encourage that. And I think the state of Florida does a really great job with that.
Yeah, and the other thing that people don't realize is that board members are responsible for extremely large budgets.
Yes.
In Volusia County, I think it's over $1 billion. Or
1.3, yes.
Okay. And, how do you ensure that those dollars are working for the taxpayers, working for the community? What do you think that voters should know about you and your role in the budget?
So a couple things. One, I think it's important for all people to know that, the money for charter schools comes through Volusia County schools. So when you see that $1.3 billion, it's not like, we're all getting a piece of that and hanging on to it. It passes through us, which is important to note. But also at the district level, when I got in there, our superintendent started right before I did as our superintendent. So I tell her our successes are pretty much the same. But we looked at the district level, like, okay, every dollar that's spent, how is this affecting student outcomes? How is this going to help a student? And at the district level, we have cut millions of dollars of positions that we could consolidate so that we could bring more money back down into the students in the classroom. So that's been a huge goal of ours. We work on it every single year. And I think that it's important for people to know that the budget is very, very, very complex. I'm sure anyone who's ever looked at it has seen, but it's making sure that every dollar spent of the taxpayer dollars is going towards student outcomes, because at the end of the day, that's why we're all here.
Yeah, and one of the things, the questions that I ask myself and that I ask people I sit down with is, why, if you were to talk to the taxpayers and, you were to say, why should we continue to invest so much in education? A lot of people in the economic conditions are struggling. They're struggling to pay for rent. There are some that want to buy a home and they can't afford to buy a home. And obviously a lot of money is going to education. We have the property tax issue right on the ballot. What do you say to those people that maybe want to know, why should we continue to invest in education? Why is this so important?
Because the education of our children is the future. I mean, I think it shapes every single community that I've seen. And so if you don't have the education part there, what are you left with in 20, 30 years? And I think that's a really sad reality that some people don't always think about, especially if they don't have kids. But I think that's important to note, that no matter what's happening out here, we have to make sure that education still stays at the heart of what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think that you can tell you're a mother, and then thinking about the well-being of your kids.
Yeah.
And is there anything else that you would want your constituents and also the citizens of Florida, the voters in your community, to know about you and why you're running for school board?
Yeah, so school board is not the easiest job at all, not even close. I would just say amongst elected officials, it's the hardest because we're so accessible, and I love being accessible. But I would love people to know that every decision I make, and it has been this way since day one, I make it with my kids at the forefront. Their pictures right there on the dais. And when I look at them, how is this going to affect them? And so I love my children more than anything in the world. And so when I make those decisions, that's who I think about. And I'm thinking about the rest of the kids tied into that.
Well, look, thanks so much for sitting down with us.
Absolutely, thank you.
It was a real pleasure. All right,
thank you so much.